Hey guys, Reuben Williams here, founder of SportsGrad. Back in the day, I landed a job at Cricket Australia on the Monday after my final university exam. And then 3 years later, when COVID hit and my job was made redundant, rather than looking for work for months on end, I was headhunted into a role that doubled my salary. I'm not telling you this to brag, I'm telling you because there is a method to it. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. For example, Lucas Viana, one of our members, called the SportsGrad method a cheat code, and another member, Sasha Brahim, she called it magic. And honestly, I'll take that. Now, most people spend years trying to break into sport and never figure out why it is not working. And so the reason that this podcast exists is to change that. Every week, I'm going to share some real moments from real coaching calls that are unfiltered, unscripted, so you get a taste for the kind of work that has helped people land over 800 roles in sport and counting. If you're ready to stop guessing and start moving in the right direction and go after the career that you've always wanted, apply for the SportsGrad Method program at sportsgrad.com.au. Now, let's get into it. I get this question all the time, which is, Reuben, once I've met with someone, what do I do after that? So here's kind of your cheat sheet for this. You've got the recording, but feel free to take a screenshot and jot it down, stick it on your wall, whatever you need to do. But this is how I would catch up with someone after I've got their time. So the first thing I'll do is text them later that day. Just, if you met them in the morning, text them later that night and just say, hey, thanks again for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Doesn't have to be, war and peace. Just a very simple message is fine. Then you want to text them 1 to 2 weeks later with something that you did off the back of what they said. So if you're out there looking for advice and asking different questions, you'll probably get some advice. And then what you want to actually do is go ahead and put that advice to work. Because as I said at the start, the worst thing that can happen to someone offering their time to someone is that you never hear from them again. So people want to hear that you are actually going out there and putting into action the things that they told you to do. For the Australian Formula One Grand Prix, you also helped Cricket Australia redesign the junior pathway for people in cricket. And you also worked with the Brisbane 32 Olympics on helping them get set up as well. And so he knows how to design a product. And so what I did was I reached out to him. He came on the podcast in episode 250. I think he's still the longest episode that is on the SportsGrad podcast. Adam Collins recently might have challenged that slightly, but he's an incredibly interesting guy. And so I reached out to him and was like, hey, Adrian, I'm about to start this journey of revamping my entire business. What would you do first? And he gave me a whole bunch of stuff. And then a week later, I'd send him a photo of a bit of butcher's paper they had with, a bunch of different axes for different things that were important for understanding customer segments and whatnot with, sticky notes all over that. And he'd be like, that's awesome, mate. Keep it up. And so I just kind of brought, which leads me to point number 3, bring them on the journey and let them know the updates that are going on to the advice that you're giving them. And so I kind of, went through this with Adrian and not only did it help build my relationship with Adrian, but it helped me also get better advice from Adrian as well, which also helped me do my thing better. And so if you can really lean into sharing your updates with the people who want to help you, then you're going to make progress much, much quicker. Now, which leads me to point number 5, and that is, if you do this several times, you are going to have a mentorship relationship naturally evolve. So at the end of this sprint period, should you do all the work and be in a position where you are ready for a mentor, we're going to introduce you to an industry mentor. But some of the best industry mentors that you have are often the ones that are formed naturally. And so at some point between me and Adrian, our relationship got to a point where okay, Adrian's the person who I call my mentor, who I go to for advice on X, Y, and Z. At no point did I say to him, hey, Adrian, do you want to be my mentor? It just kind of happened naturally. And the way that happened naturally was basically I had a question, he answered it. I let him know how it went. I had another question, he answered again, and then that relationship formed over time. Same thing happened with Wayne as well, who I mentioned as well. Now, one way you can kind of reverse engineer a naturally forming mentorship is actually think about something you might need help with. So if the sort of core mechanism to developing a mentorship is actually needing advice on a particular thing, then go into these coffee catch-ups with that in mind. Think about the advice that, you might already need that could lead to a mentorship with someone. So, for example, like one thing I used to do was ask people for a book recommendation. And then I'd go and get the book, I'd read the book, and they'd tell them what I learned from the book. And that again would just like keep the relationship going. They would feel like their time was valuable. And also like it'd make me stand out because like how many people are actually going to like, read a whole book and then go to the effort of letting them know. So these are some of the things you might want to consider when, developing people over time to get them to a really strong relationship. All right, guys, that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed that and got something out of it. If you want to learn directly from me and other SportsGrad coaches who are working directly in the industry, then jump into the SportsGrad Method program. Once you're inside, you'll also get access to the entire SportsGrad Method curriculum that comes with a 90-day roadmap so you know exactly what to do next. There is a step-by-step system to this. You do not have to think of what to do. We have thought of it all for you. Plus, you can tap into the SportsGrad network and get introductions to the people that might be hard to meet for you at the moment. Plus, you'll be surrounded by the wonderful SportsGrad community who are all helping each other get closer to their goals as well. So the results speak for themselves. Have a look at the website if you want to check it all out, but we'd love to see you inside and receive your application. See ya.